that 4-year-old Javeayah Harris is deceased. It's the outcome that we all feared, and sadly, it's the outcome that we must face. We'll have to face it together as a community.
We have been watching the press conference. That was the Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer there announcing that this search has taken a turn. We knew it was going to be a pivotal update in this case. They now believe that Javeayah Harris is dead. They have evidence in the case to believe that. Her body somewhere, he said, not here, and would not go in to the details of where they believe this little girl's body is. They believe that she has died. Both of her parents, her father, her mother, both arrested now, charged with homicide by child abuse, and now filing a false police report. The sheriff adamant to bring this key piece in sharing the details that he could today.
For 9 days, a whole community searched creek beds, woods, and backyards for a little girl who loved chickens and Minnie Mouse. Helicopters in the sky, drones over the trees, church parking lots turned into command centers. But here's what nobody searching knew. The outcome had already been decided weeks before anyone even started looking. But before that, ignore this if your mom means nothing to you. But if you love her more than anything, prove it. Like, subscribe, share this video, and comment with heart emojis if you truly love her. Aiken County, South Carolina. Quiet streets, small town pace, the kind of place where everybody's supposed to know everybody's business. On Hillsborough Street sat a house that looked like any other on the block. Inside it lived a young family, Michilae Herring, 22 years old, her boyfriend, Johmarea Harris, 23, and their daughter, Javeayah. Javeayah was 4, small for her age, about 3'6", 42 pounds, with braids and pink beads that clicked together every time she ran. People who knew her say she loved being outside, playing near the family's chicken coop, doing what any 4-year-old does when the sun's still up and nobody's calling her in yet. She loved people too. Any people, strangers included. She'd walk right up to somebody she'd never met and start talking, because nobody in her short life had ever taught her to be afraid. Hold on to that. It's going to matter. To anybody driving past that house, this was just a young couple raising their little girl. Michilae was pregnant with another baby, due any day. Johmarea worked. Javeayah played outside. Ordinary. Unremarkable. That's exactly what made what was already happening inside that house so hard for people to accept once it came out. Because somewhere between May 1st and June 15th of this year, Javeayah suffered repeated blunt force injuries. Not the kind that happen once, the kind that pile up over time. And according to the case built against them, both parents knew. They didn't call a doctor. They didn't call 911. They didn't call anybody. Javeayah died sometime during that stretch. A 4-year-old girl, gone, inside her own home. And no one on the outside had a clue. Not the neighbors, not the school system. Not one soul in Aiken County knew that a little girl who used to play by that chicken coop wasn't playing anywhere anymore. For weeks, life on Hillsborough Street just went on. As far as the outside world was concerned, nothing had happened at all. That silence held until June 30th, the night Michilae Herring picked up the phone. June 30th, nighttime. Michilae Herring dialed 911. "I can't find my baby." She told the dispatcher she was at 39 Hillsborough Street. She said Javeayah had been playing outside near the chicken coop around 8 p.m. pink Minnie Mouse pajamas. Pink beads in her braids. Crocs on her feet. She told them her daughter might have autism, though there was no official diagnosis on record, and said her own pregnancy made it hard to keep up with a fast-moving 4-year-old. Within hours, this stopped being just a family looking for their kid. This became an all-out operation. Law enforcement flooded Hillsborough Street. Then came the FBI. Then SLED, South Carolina's state investigators. Helicopters cut across the sky. Drones swept the tree lines. Hundreds of volunteers walked side by side with officers through thousands of acres in summer heat that doesn't let up, calling her name into the woods. Sheriff Marty Sawyer stood in front of cameras and told the public what everybody was hoping to hear. There was no sign this was an abduction. Most likely, they said, she had simply wandered off. This was a search and rescue mission. Find the baby, bring her home. Tips poured in by the dozens. Search parties grew by the day. A whole county, strangers who'd never laid eyes on this little girl, poured everything they had into finding her. Days went by. No sign of her, no trace at all. And slowly, without anyone announcing it out loud, the tone of that investigation started to shift. Then came July 4th. Sheriff Sawyer stepped back up to the podium. This time, his voice was different, heavier. Our investigation and evidence leads us to believe that 4-year-old Javeayah Harris is deceased. The search for a missing child had just become a homicide investigation. That same day, Johmarea Harris and Michilae Herring were arrested.
Morning. I'm Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer. And we're gathered here, and I'm gathered here with all these law enforcement partners to make the hardest announcement that I've ever had to make in my 36 years career in law enforcement. I'm deeply saddened to tell you that our investigation and evidence leads us to believe that 4-year-old Javeayah Harris is deceased. It's the outcome that we all feared, and sadly, it's the outcome that we must face. We'll have to face it together as a community.
Both charged with homicide by child abuse. Herring hit with an extra charge, filing a false police report. Because here's what the warrants would go on to reveal. Both parents had confessed. Strip away the search. Strip away the helicopters, the drones, the volunteers walking creek beds. Here's what investigators say actually happened inside that house. Somewhere in that May to June window, Javeayah suffered a head injury. Investigators allege it came from an assault by her mother. Not a fall, not an accident. An assault. She needed a doctor right away. She needed help immediately. Neither parent picked up the phone. According to their own confessions, they watched her condition get worse. They knew what was happening to their daughter, and they chose to do nothing. Investigators used a phrase in the case file that says, everything. Both parents showed extreme indifference to human life. That choice cost Javeayah her life sometime before June 15th. Over 2 weeks before anyone outside that home would even hear her name on the news. Then came the part that made a sheriff with nearly 4 decades in law enforcement go quiet in front of a camera. Instead of calling for help, instead of confessing right then, Johmarea Harris and Michilae Herring allegedly went to work covering it up. Investigators say they used corrosive chemicals along with other tools to speed up the destruction of Javeayah's body. Whatever was left afterward, they allegedly poured into Cedar Creek Reservoir in neighboring Fairfield County. Locals call it Stumpy Pond. Sit with that for a second, while a whole county searched, while drones flew overhead and volunteers walked for miles under a July sun. The 2 people who reported her missing already knew there was no little girl to find. There was only a place they'd tried to make sure nobody would ever look. An arrest is one thing. Finding what's left of a 4-year-old girl is another.
I have never, ever heard of anything so horrific. There's some very harsh words that I would like to use about Johmarea and Michilae, but I will not do that. And I will not do that to protect and maintain the integrity of this case. But I will tell you this. I will not refer to them as mom and dad or mother or father. They don't deserve that title. But at this time, I can share that a few human remains were recovered, and through analysis, the DNA of the remains are consistent with being the biological offspring of Johmarea and Michilae. Our information reveals the use of corrosive chemicals and other tools that were used to accelerate the destruction of her little body. After this was completed, these two individuals poured what remains were left of Javeayah into the Cedar Creek Reservoir. These subjects went through great lengths to cover their repulsive and revolting actions. We had all hoped and prayed to find her body, but with the information we've uncovered, that's simply not possible. It's heartbreaking for our office, for all the law enforcement across the state that's worked on this case, countless hours to find every piece of evidence with the hope of bringing Javeayah home.
After Johmarea Harris and Michilae Herring were taken into custody on July 4th, the search didn't stop. It just changed shape completely. This wasn't a rescue mission anymore. It was a recovery. Investigators went back to the house on Hillsborough Street. Crime tape went back up. Deputies searched the property and the woods right next to it. The Aiken County Coroner's Office sent their own staff to walk that land. But according to a law enforcement source, they weren't looking for a body there. They were looking for evidence, because the body allegedly wasn't anywhere near that house anymore. Almost 90 miles away in Fairfield County, a different search was underway. Officers set up at the Dutchman Creek access point, the entry to Cedar Creek Reservoir, the 847-acre body of water locals call Stumpy Pond. Roadblocks went up for days. Crews worked that shoreline. Then on a Wednesday, those roadblocks came down. No announcement, no press conference yet, just quiet. And in an investigation like this, quiet usually means something was found. The confirmation came the next morning, July 9th. Sheriff Marty Sawyer walked up to the podium, and for once, the seasoned lawman could barely hold it together. "This past week has been heart-wrenching," Sawyer told reporters. He said he was truly sickened by what the investigation had uncovered. Divers had recovered partial human remains from Cedar Creek Reservoir. DNA testing confirmed what everyone feared. Those remains belonged to the biological child of Johmarea Harris and Michilae Herring, Java. Sawyer laid out what investigators believe happened next, after her death. Extensive, deliberate efforts to destroy and conceal the evidence. Corrosive chemicals, other tools, all allegedly used to accelerate the destruction of her body before whatever remained was poured into that reservoir. Because of how far that process went, Sawyer said it's unlikely the rest of Java's remains will ever be recovered. Vigil candles were already burning across Aiken by the time that press conference ended. A memorial had grown outside the house on Hillsborough Street. Stuffed animals, balloons, fresh flowers, left by people who never met this little girl in their entire lives and showed up anyway. Let's lay out exactly what these two are facing. Johmarea Harris and Michilae Herring, both charged with homicide by child abuse. Herring carries the extra charge of filing a false police report for that 911 call reporting a missing daughter she already knew was gone. Following the discovery at the reservoir, both now face additional charges: destruction and desecration of human remains. At their bond hearing on July 5th, both were denied bond. Officials pointed straight at the obvious. These two are considered flight risks. Sheriff Sawyer made one thing clear at that podium, and he wasn't shy about it. "I will not refer to them as mom and dad, or mother or father. They don't deserve that title." The homicide by child abuse charges alone carry 20 years to life. Add destruction of evidence, add desecration of remains, add a false police report. When the additional charges came down on July 9th, bond was denied again. Sawyer didn't hold back on what this case did to him personally either. In my 37 years in law enforcement, I have never ever heard of anything so horrific. Their next court date is set for September 18th. A 4-year-old girl who liked pink beads in her hair and playing by the chicken coop is gone. And the 2 people who were supposed to protect her more than anyone else on this earth are the reason why. Aiken County didn't know any of that when they showed up by the hundreds, searching woods, running drones, praying out loud for a little girl to come home safe. They never got that ending. What they got instead was the truth. Vigil candles still burn for Javeayah. Pink ribbons still hang around that community. And a sheriff with almost 4 decades on the job says this is one that will stay with him for the rest of his career. This case is a hard reminder. Sometimes the danger to a child isn't a stranger out in the dark. Sometimes it's already inside the house. If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic violence or is worried about a child's safety, you can reach the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-7-997-233 or the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-422-44453. Both are free, confidential, and available 24/7. Rest easy, Javeayah. This has been This Day Crime. If this story moved you, don't just scroll past, like it, subscribe, and drop a comment for Javeayah. We'll see you on the next one.